Then I fade just like fire. Then I fade just like fire.
Throughout time, teenagers have been known as the rebellious, crazy, energetic go-getters of our society.
I'm having a ball. My life is a blast. I'm loving.
But then there's the contemporary teen. Meet Ethan. He's a Gen Z teenager who spends an average of 8 hours a day on internet, on sites like Instagram and Snapchat. On top of everything, it seems like Ethan's just sad. He's turned into a bit of a pessimist. And the other day, when the Wi-Fi went out, he screamed at his mother for so long that she refuses to talk to him now. It's been 48 hours since he slept or ate anything, and his parents are starting to get very concerned. The only thing that's left to see is what is in store for Ethan in his social black hole. Fast forward 3 months later. Ethan's family is very worried about him. Let's see what he might have.
Alcohol or substance abuse, alcohol or substance dependence, anxiety disorders, adult attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, bipolar disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, opioid use disorder symptoms, panic disorder, postpartum depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, social anxiety phobia, depersonalization disorder, dissociative amnesia, dissociative fugue, dissociative identity disorder, anorexia nervosa, binge eating disorder, bulimia nervosa, circadian rhythm sleep-wake disorder, hypersomnolescence, insomnia disorder, nightmare disorder, autism spectrum disorder, expressive language disorder, antisocial personality disorder, avoidant personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, dependent personality disorder, acute stress disorder, adjustment disorder, agoraphobia, body dysmorphic disorder, brief psychotic disorder, gender dysphoria, hoarding disorder, pathological gambling, pedophilia, or major depressive disorder.
Ethan has depression. Depression, also known as major depressive disorder or clinical depression, is a serious mood disorder that over 300 million people are diagnosed with globally. Depression can be identified by a lack of engagement and enjoyment in day-to-day life, described in the DSM-5 as markedly diminished interest or pleasure in all or almost all activities most of the day, nearly every day. Depression can also be recognized by its somatic effects like fatigue, loss of appetite, insomnia, and overall body pain, which often accompany the disorder. It is a very debilitating disorder that can have a huge emotional toll on not just those afflicted, but the people who surround them as well. Jean M. Twenge's study about depression in America showed that adolescents have a much higher rate of depression than their counterparts in the 1980s. The rising rate of depression can be due to many reasons, and it's impossible to have a definitive reason as to why those rates are rising. However, in a time where technology is ever evolving, it is believed that technology specifically around social platforms are causing more adolescents to become depressed. Today, we are going to be looking at depression from a biological, cognitive, social, and cultural approach in regards to how technology has increased the rates of depression in teens.
From a biological point of view, major depressive disorder is a result of a chemical imbalance in the brain. This occurs when the process by which neurotransmitters travel among neurons is interrupted. Neurotransmitters such as norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine are commonly referred to as feel-good chemicals and are significant to mental and physical health. Serotonin is important in regulating functions including sleep, aggression, eating, sexual behavior, and mood when levels are normal. A decrease in the production of this chemical may also trigger a decrease in norepinephrine, thus leading to depression. Additionally, dopamine plays an important role in regulating reward-seeking and pleasure-seeking behaviors. Low dopamine levels may in part explain why depressed people don't derive the same sense of pleasure out of activities or people that they did before becoming depressed. There is no one reason that causes this chemical imbalance, as it differs by the individual, but it is known to have both environmental and genetic factors. Why has there been a rise in depression among adolescents in recent years, and what role does biology play in it? We know that the use of technology has skyrocketed with recent innovations such as different social medias and more advanced video games. Teenagers are spending the majority of their day in front of the screen, sometimes over 10 hours. This disrupts the circadian rhythm because the light from the screen mimics daylight and suppresses the release of melatonin, which then triggers other unhealthy reactions such as hormone imbalance and brain inflammation. Losing sleep as a result prevents the body from resting and healing. Adolescents are hooked on electronics, thus releasing so much dopamine that eventually the overuse of these pathways causes desensitization, and it is difficult to achieve pleasure. Additionally, addiction to technology has an impact on mental energy. Screen time overloads the sensory system and depletes mental reserves, contributing to poor focus. When attention suffers, so does the ability to process one's internal and external environment, so little demands become big ones.
The cognitive level of analysis outlines the causes of major depressive disorders and why some individuals are more vulnerable to developing depression when coupled with negative life occurrences. One faulty cognitive process includes arbitrary inference. In this case, an individual perceives negative conclusions or outcomes when insufficient supporting information exists. Ethan experiences this illogical process when communicating on his phone. He believes his friends hate him and that he is not valued when somebody forgets to respond.
The social approach to understanding depression looks at the ways that socialization and interpersonal relationships can affect an individual's susceptibility to depressive disorders. Socialization is a key aspect of forming personal identity, and the ever-important connections with others as feelings as though you are the value to others is a key aspect of self-confidence. Socialization can be a key aspect of maintaining a happy and fulfilling life, which is why the role of socialization in depression can be a bit of a double-edged sword. Depression has been linked to social anxiety and introverted tendencies, which can stop those suffering from depression from forming the meaningful connections that would strive off feelings of loneliness and depression. As Gottlieb and Hammond observed in 1992, people with depressive disorders are more prone to problems in their personal lives due to their disconnective tendencies. With the rise of social media, pressures are more prevalent than ever before, especially in the lives of young people, and can be linked to the rise of social depressive tendencies amongst this demographic. These social interactions and relationships can become inescapable, forcing those affected to dwell on their own inadequacies and antisocial tendencies without any means of escaping the social environments causing it.
Culture is an over-encompassing approach that affects everything from how you process information to your outlook on life. It is therefore very difficult to decipher exactly how culture affects depression. When we look at the percentage of people with depression in different countries, the number varies greatly. In 2018, Lithuania had the highest rates of suicide, with 31.9 suicides per 100,000, while countries in the Caribbean are close to none. Antigua and Barbuda have a suicide rate of 0.5 people per 100,000. One of the root common differences is how different cultures define depression and their attitude towards seeking help. Hofstede's cultural dimension theory looks at different cultures in terms of different groupings that embodies the general way of thinking across cultures. One of Hofstede's most used cultural dimension is individualism versus collectivism, which is the difference between where an individual views themselves in relation to the group. For individualist cultures, everyone works toward their own personal goals and sees themselves as a separate entity, while collectivist cultures associate themselves as one part to the whole. They function in terms of the wealth and prosperity of the rest of the group. Social media has a root function of people sharing their personal achievements, their highlights of life. Individuals' cultures which tend to be Western are more negatively affected by social media as their personal achievements are held to a higher standard. Whereas in collectivist cultures, it is thought that social media is not as much an emotional stressor because there's less focus on personal gratification that comes from success and sharing that success on social media. It is also believed that there are stronger support systems in collectivist cultures that result in feeling less lonely and isolated that occurs from social media in individualistic cultures.